Mr. President, as I come to the floor today, we are at a decisive and a consequential moment here in the Senate. We're here to consider the nomination of Judge Neil Gorsuch to be a Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Will Democrat senators vote to have a well-qualified mainstream justice who stands for the rule of law? Or will the extreme left wing of that party continue to try to call the shots? That's the decision members are going to have to make. America needs judges who can follow the law, who apply the law, who will have the highest ethical standards, who value the independence of our courts. To me, that's a description of Judge Gorsuch. That's him in a nutshell. We saw it throughout his career, and we saw it again at his confirmation hearings in the Judiciary Committee. Democrats on the committee asked him to answer hypothetical questions. Hypothetical questions. They asked him about issues that are probably going to be coming before the Supreme Court of the land. Now, there are ethics rules that say that judges and nominees cannot answer those kinds of questions. And, of course, Judge Gorsuch followed the rules. That's exactly what other nominees have done in the past. Nominees who were nominated by Republican presidents, nominees who were nominated by Democrat presidents. It's what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did at her confirmation hearing in 1993. She said, quote, "A judge sworn to decide impartially can offer no forecasts, no hints." She said this would display disdain for the entire judicial process. And of course, she was confirmed, sits on the court today. It's been known as the Ginsburg Standard. And every nominee since her nomination hearings has followed that same standard. Now, that's what Justice Gorsuch did. But Democrats on the Judiciary Committee have tried to criticize Judge Gorsuch for some of his opinions that they didn't like. They talked about a couple of cases where the person who was on the losing side in a case was sympathetic. They suggested that the court should have ignored the law and sided with, quote, the little guy in the involved cases. Well, Judge Gorsuch pointed out that judges are absolutely not supposed to consider what they think is sympathetic. They're supposed to rule based on the law. Federal judges actually swear an oath to administer justice without respect to persons and do equal right to the poor and to the rich. Most senators recognize that judges should be impartial. Now, the minority leader, Senator Schumer, has actually spoken about how important this is. At the confirmation hearing for Justice Sonia Sotomayor in 2009, she was nominated by President Obama. Senator Schumer praised the way that she put, quote, the rule of law above everything else. He said that she followed the text of statutes. Even when doing so, he said, results in rulings that go against so-called sympathetic litigants. That was 2009. Now it's 2017. And that's the identical standard that Judge Gorsuch has continued to follow. Judge Gorsuch pointed out that it's his job to apply the law, not to write the law. Writing laws is the job of Congress. We're not here to select the 101st senator. We're here to select a justice for the Supreme Court. We're selecting a judge for the most important court in the land. And it's important and imperative that we take this decision seriously and that we set aside any partisan grudges. Democrats who want to filibuster this judge are not arguing any principle here. Reasonable individuals know that this nominee deserves to be confirmed. Now, there was one lawyer who wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, March 8th. Now, he's a board member of the very liberal American Constitution Society. He wrote that there is no principled reason to vote against Judge Gorsuch. Well, he's exactly right. I listened to the arguments that Democrats have made in the confirmation hearing. I was not convinced. If any of my colleagues on the Democrat side of the aisle are undecided about how to vote, I suggest they go back and look and listen to the hearings as well. And look at what other people have said about this nominee. A Chicago Tribune editorial said that confirmation hearing revealed unassailable assurances by Gorsuch that he would decide each case on the merits, based on the law as written, applied to the world as it is today. The Detroit News agreed. It said that Justice Gorsuch showed that he is a, quote, deeply knowledgeable nominee who should be confirmed by the Senate. USA Today on Monday had their own headline. It said, on the merits, Gorsuch merits confirmation. The American Bar Association surveyed 5,000 people who've worked with Judge Gorsuch over the years. These people described him using words like brilliant, thoughtful, and, quote, really, really, really smart, close quote. The Bar Association also found Judge Gorsuch believes strongly in the independence of the judiciary. They predicted, this is the Bar Association, the American Bar Association, predicted that he will be a strong but respectful voice in protecting it. The group ended up giving him its highest possible rating. Now, interestingly, Senator Schumer once called this group, quote, the gold standard for evaluating judges. The gold standard, he called it. And they have given him their highest possible rating. So why does the minority leader think that the gold standard is not good enough anymore? Judge Gorsuch is even introduced at his confirmation hearing by a former top lawyer from the Obama administration. Neil Katyal is a Democrat. He served as Solicitor General of the United States under President Obama. He called Judge Gorsuch one of the most thoughtful and brilliant judges to have served our nation over the last century. Let me repeat. This is someone who has served as Solicitor General of the United States under President Obama, calling Judge Gorsuch one of the most thoughtful and brilliant judges to have served our nation over the last century. He even wrote an op-ed in the New York Times that predicted that Judge Gorsuch would, quote, help to restore confidence. Help to restore confidence in the rule of law. Isn't that what we want? I mean, as a nation, confidence in the rule of law. I think that any Democrat who has looked at this nominee's record is going to find it's an easy decision to confirm him. If there's a Democrat who reaches the opposite conclusion, I say come to the floor of the United States Senate. Explain why you think our judges should go into a case favoring one side over another because one side is more sympathetic than the other. If there is a member who thinks that a judge should make promises about how they'll rule just to win a confirmation vote of a given senator, I would say come to the floor and make your case. If there is a member who thinks a justice of the Supreme Court should rule based on that justice's or her own preferences and not based on the law, I would say please come to the floor of the United States Senate and state it so. I don't think that's what the American people want. The American people do want justices who are smart. They want them who are principled, who are fair, and who know that their job is to follow the law, not to write the law, not to legislate from the bench. The American people know that Neil Gorsuch is exactly that kind of judge. It's the kind of judge we should have on the Supreme Court, we need on the Supreme Court, and we need on every court in the land. And that's why, Mr. President, I am committed to vote to confirm Neil Gorsuch to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.